think that's a very important thing that has been very helpful for me, but I also think it will be helpful for so many people to humanize Jesus.
Mhm.
I believe that Jesus was just like us. We see where he gets frustrated, he gets afraid, he's again driven in the wilderness, like he's having moments. He calls, he curses at a fig tree, curses a fig tree. Like Jesus is on the surface. Because one of the things I also talk about is appearances are not the truth. And here's one big thing that my higher self slash myself told me during my wilderness experience. The one big thing that came through me was the whole spiritual journey is to learn not to judge according to appearances. And we even see that throughout the Bible. But and then that takes on so many levels and forms. Like obviously this 3D reality is an illusion. Obviously, when you look at things like sickness or lack, that's just an appearance. But the truth of who we are is abundance. The truth of who we are is wholeness.
Right.
We as soul can never be sick. So not judging according to appearances is that getting caught up and immersed in what has appeared, but actually using that contrast to remember the truth that this isn't real, that this is just an appearance. It may appear to be happening, but it's not the truth. And I use that when I work with the people that had cancer as well. Like one person, the second person, she came to me and she was telling about her journey. Like I was in the shower and I had this. I went to the doctor and now they're just trying to figure out whether it's malignant or malign or benign. I said, you don't have cancer. And that was coming from the space of she is soul. And then I got a call like 2 days later. She either called me or texted me. She said, just the cancer's gone. I'm like, yeah. And I'm always careful because, like I said, Jesus is my guy. This isn't what James has declared. This is what my I am. I call it my eternal I has said. So, I always say James hasn't healed anyone, but the eternal I, has done the healing.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yes. So true. Another thing that Christ taught me is to see everyone, everything whole. If someone says they're sick or whatever, you're whole. Always see,
Absolutely.
always sees everyone and everything is whole. Yeah.
Absolutely. He gave us some great examples. And there are like four different occasions. And I remember my very first healing, which was in 2016, 2017. I remember Jesus when they couple of stories when they brought the woman caught in adultery and they tried to trick him into it. The Bible says that Jesus put his head down and ignored them. When you think about Lazarus, Mary came to him and says, "Your friend Lazarus is dying." The Bible says that Jesus abode 2 days. He wasn't like, "Oh, let me get there." He hung out for 2 more days.
Yes. Yeah.
And there was two other examples that I talk about, but what he's teaching us is that you don't react to appearances. You don't react to something that's not the truth. He knew what the truth was, and he knew that he could bring forth or call the truth forth at any moment. So I don't gotta. And I remember my first one, person was having a panic attack. Yeah, person was having a panic attack. Everybody's running to him. I'm talking to someone called Pops. His nickname was Pops. The guy is right beside me. Everybody's running to him. I just continue the conversation with Pops as if this is not happening. They got some level of control, and because he knew I was a spiritual person, after everybody did everything they feel like could do for him, he said, "James, could you pray for me?" And I said, "Absolutely, but I don't pray the way everybody else prays." And I told him this. I said, "I just want you to close your eyes for a second, for about 60 seconds. I want you to imagine what you would be doing if this wasn't on you or, this." I never even mentioned the panic attack. Just imagine what you would be doing in this moment or whatever. And I said, "When you open up your eyes, I'll pray for you." He opened up his eyes, and I just said, Father, I thank you that my brother's in every way whole, that he's vibrant. He's, some other words I threw in there. And it was gone like the next second. I never even acknowledged it. And that's another key moment I brought out too. But another one, the one that I drew from was when he came down from the Mount of Transfiguration, and they're running to him saying, the young boy has a demon, we couldn't cast him out. For me, the most surreal experience is taking place. Jesus is talking to the Father, and the boy literally has what we may call an epileptic seizure right there in Jesus' presence. Jesus keeps talking to the Father. And then it says the boy fell down as if dead. And then, at some point, Jesus reached over and like Jesus, like imagine a child. Imagine a child is having an epileptic seizure right near you. You might be like, hold on, James, I'll be right back. Give me just 1 second. Let me just deal with this. You would not say, so James, the next question I have for you is, but that's what he's teaching us, to not judge according to appearances.
Yeah.
The truth is that young boy was always whole. The boy that the gentleman that I dealt with, he was always whole.
Mm-hmm.
As long as we don't react, we allow the truth to come.
I love that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes. I know he taught us so much, didn't he? And
Yeah, it's taught us so much. So much.
Yeah, and I'm glad his true teachings are coming out now, finally through
As we
us.
make this shift, as we make this shift, and I love that I hear even some Christians, even they may be somewhat diehard, but they're leaning more toward embracing, seeing experiences in the Bible differently. And we all can attribute that to the shift. The planet is shifting, we're shifting. These kind of conversations are raising awareness and consciousness. So, yeah.
Shift happens.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
For some reason, I just got that in my head. That's
I
his
love it.
humor.
I love
Okay.
it. Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
know. Yeah. And I always see it as what he taught us back, then 2000 years ago was meant
Yeah.
for now. Because he saw this, he knew. Because he said at the end of the age, he kept saying at the end of the age. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so here
Yeah.
we are at
Even,
the end of the age.
even his followers were clueless. Even his followers were clueless as
Mhm.
to what he meant by what he was saying. I think even the Bible talks about them being like confused at times about what he meant. But yeah, like you said, it's the what they're calling the age of Aquarian. And again, it's that moment in time that, as you mentioned, he talked about. We're just fortunate to be a part of it. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. He prepared us in some way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, lots of
Yeah.
lots of ways, but
Yeah. Because as a minister, I can remember someone coming up to me and talking about some of the stuff that I talk about. And I was just like, yeah, okay, man, whatever. Yeah,
wacko,
whatever.
right?
Right, exactly. Exactly. And now I'm that guy. So I love it.
Be,
I embrace
be
it.
careful what we make fun of, right?
Exactly. I'm like, yeah, whatever, man. And I don't think said anything bad about him, or I was just like, whatever. It's like, y'all don't know gentlemen. But that's the programming, and I always speak highly of the church, because without the church, I would not be here. It was a transition point.
Mhm.
I always say that they blocked the door to some extent to this next phase, but I would not be even at the door to step over into this new phase without them. So, I never down, even though Christians at times come at me hard in my comments and things, I just say thanks for sharing. I understand that part of our job in this higher consciousness is to reach on the top shelf and bring down to those who are where they are on their journey the information. They're going to get it. We're all going to end up at the same destination regardless.
Right.
But I can't judge or speak badly because they don't have the understanding yet that I might have been here a few more. I've probably been here a few times. to get
Right.
this, we both probably been here a few times to get this level of
Oh, I know.
understanding
I've
that
been
we
here
have.
way too many
Yeah,
times. I'm a slow
right,
learner.
right. Yeah, that part right there. So,
No, I
yeah,
agree. I kind of look at, and we've been there, right? I kind of look at
mhm,
everyone on their journey is if
yeah,
someone perhaps doesn't understand or get or makes fun of what, what we might be sharing or
yeah,
something like that.
right,
Okay, that's in terms of earth progress. That person is probably like a first grader if you talk about it in school, and we're maybe second
right.
graders in terms of
Exactly.
not really, or third. But a first grader doesn't have the experience or the tools or the knowledge that a second or third grader has. It doesn't mean that
Right,
they're stupid or dumb or they just can't get it. It just means that they don't have, like you said, we've had maybe more lifetimes
right.
or anything, stuff like that, experience.
Yeah,
So that's how I see it, because you can't
yeah.
judge someone for not being in the place
No,
that you are.
absolutely.
Yeah.
They're exactly where they're supposed to be,
Right.
doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, and that gets to be okay.
Right.
I know we all arrive at the same destination at some point.
Yeah.
So,
I do know that
yeah.
Christ, well, I watched The Chosen. Did you see the series The Chosen? Or you watched it?
No, yeah, I heard about it, but I never watched it.
It's really good. I love it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's
Well,
the first,
I will say go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, you go ahead.
No, I was just saying when I was in the wilderness, I watched every 40 days video that I could. Every video about Jesus being in the wilderness, I watched probably all of them, but no, I haven't seen Chosen.
Yeah. I don't know if they depicted that one, the 40 days in the wilderness. It felt different than how it was depicted in the Bible, but I didn't even know that that was his 40 days, because it was kind of just in The Chosen. It wasn't, I don't know, maybe it was just me. I didn't want to understand it, but
Yeah.
um he professes in the last season how his followers just aren't getting it, how frustrated he is that they're not getting it.
Right, 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 right.
He of course doesn't judge them, he loves them, but he's like, talks to Mary, his mother, and it's like they're just not
Mhm.
what do I do? They're just not getting it.
Right. I say this facetiously, but I'm thinking these idiots. Like that's she's just thinking these idiots. I can't get through to them.
How many times do I have to tell him? I know.
Right, right.
It's not
And I've
about power.
right, exactly. I think that's a very important thing that has been very helpful for me, but I also think it will be helpful for so many people to humanize Jesus.
Mhm.
I believe that Jesus was just like us. We see where he gets frustrated, he gets afraid, he's again driven in the wilderness, like he's having moments. He calls, he curses at a fig tree, curses a fig tree. Like Jesus is very much human, which allows us to identify with him even more as he is divine, which is the same as us. Which obviously, he showed up to show us who we are, and so our humanness is very much a part of this journey as anything. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I've felt that from him, definitely, that he says, even in the Way of Mastery that I study, the Way of Mastery books, he says that I am no different than you. Yeah, we are all the same. He's a brother
Absolutely.
to us too. Yeah. And um ooh, I'm starting to feel that. Yeah. But he's just here to show us the way, to
Absolutely.
help us out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mhm.
Absolutely. Just you just gotta be open to it. Just gotta be open to it. So
Right. Right. Yeah. I could talk about him all day long.
I told you that's my guy. That's my guy.
Right?
I could do
Right?
absolutely.
Totally. I love though, I also love talking about parallel realities. And I will say that in my book I share a couple of experiences of that. And One of them was when I saw Christ from the outside view. And
Yeah,
this is definitely goes against Christian teachings, but where
sure, sure.
I saw him in the middle of a market, and I was um yeah, and I saw Mary walking with him, and Mary Magdalene walking with him, but I
Mhm.
was watching from this outside view, from the spirit view.
Yeah,
And he was being surrounded by the people in the market. They recognized him, they call him master, and he was
yeah.
just like being overwhelmed and surrounded. And then I saw a cloud appear over overhead, and a beam of light came down and drew him up in the beam of light
Mhm.
into what I recognized as a ship uh, in
Wow.
in the sky, in the clouds.
Yeah,
And I saw him,
yeah.
then I was transported into the ship, and I saw him sitting there in lotus meditating so that he could be calm. and
Mm.
and then he was beamed back down into another part of the market.
Mm.
So he definitely um had people taking care of him, of course. But
Yeah.
it makes me think, do we do we have people like that helping us? When we're in one reality that's overwhelming for us kind of thing. And like
Oh,
what you were helping that
great
one
question.
gentleman with.
Yeah, great question. Two things I want to bring up from what you said. And I'll start with what you said last first. I believe our greater version that is existing in this moment is encouraging us and supporting us on our journey. I believe that I'm affecting that James is in the wilderness, right? That my higher consciousness is raising his consciousness. So I believe that there's obviously there's no time, but for lack of a better word, there's a future self who is even, when he calls your higher self, even calls your higher self, that is supporting us in reaching and merging and integrating with where they are. But then also we have our spirit guides as well that we can call on. Some of them, some of us know who they are. I know who mine are. Probably don't know who all of them. I know who some of them are, but they also, when we call upon them, give us a sign here, give us a sign there, that is supporting us on our journey to higher states of consciousness, to higher states of being. The other thing I want to mention is that the truth of who we are is consciousness. And I want the watchers, the listeners to consider this. I know this to be a fact for my reality, but I'll just say for others to consider when you dream at night, that's not just a dream, it's another reality where another
Thank you.
you is living a life.
Yes.
When we talk about, or when I talk about consciousness as the only reality, consciousness can shift to any other of the infinite selves that are already living. You at night, you're in your bed, but your consciousness is now in a dream fighting dragons or chasing blue tigers or whatever. Your consciousness is the only thing that moves. And so your consciousness can occupy any of your infinite bodies that are existing in this moment. All you have to do is now become that self. Think from that self's perspective, right? And so, yeah, so I believe that we're getting constant support from angels, spirit guides, a higher self slash future self, greater self. But at the same time, we are, again, when we talk about parallel realities, your dream state is probably your biggest evidence. And even when you're in your dream state, you're going from one dream to another dream. You're not walking over to a new experience. You're in one moment and you're in the next moment.
Yeah.
And so your consciousness is moving. You're not moving. And so your consciousness is able to occupy any of the number of bodies that you are experiencing in any of the realities that you exist in.
Yeah. That's I love that because that's what I teach people as well, is the dream is not a noun. It's not a noun.
Yeah.
We've been taught that it's a noun, not a noun.
Right,
We're
right,
remembering
right.
our experiences in our higher reality, where our
Absolutely.
consciousness is,
A-
yeah, totally. And
Absolutely. The same with deja vu.
mhm.
That's us recognizing what we already knew before we came here. Like we saw all of this. And so when we see it, we're like, man, I saw this before. Yeah, you did. Before you even got here. You saw this experience. And you're just remembering that you don't know where you saw it from, but yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's all of this is played out. It's so funny. I like to think about this at times. You and I had this interview before we had this interview.
Yes.
like like
Yes.
all
That's
we
how we dream
ever
about these things.
yes, yes. I tell people all the time, all you're ever experiencing is the unfolding of what already is. This before I even reached out to you, we were having this, or we had this. We just experienced the unfolding of what already was.
Right.
So yeah, everything
Perfect.
already is, and absolutely,
It,
absolutely.
I see reality is like this, we're cyclical, circular, like we're the sun and we are moving our way back to the center of source, right?
Absolutely.
God.
Yeah.
And so each instant, we've already done this. We've done all of
Already.
this,
All
just
of
in different
this. Right.
avatars, perhaps, different clothing, different
Absolutely.
microphones, different
Absolutely.
whatever.
Absolutely.
And hopefully each time we do
Absolutely.
it, we get closer and smarter and, bring in more light because we have to in order to
Yes.
move.
Got to.
There's that spiraling light, spiraling.
Exactly. 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 Right on the money. Right on the
Right.
money.
I know it's amazing. It really is. So we've done all this and that's why things feel so familiar. That's why we see people and we're like, I know you.
Right. Right. And it's so funny when I think about the pre-birth planning of certain experiences. And I did a teaching on my channel. I said, why your soul chose this life. And even when we think about choosing our race, our height, male, female, whatever, all of those are going into kind of the mixing bowl of what will attract the person that we are to have the experience with as well. Like they will recognize on a superficial level, oh, there's something attractive about this person. Or, oh, I like this person's personality, but really it's a soul. It's a meeting of the soul. It's just it dressed me up like this so I could recognize you and you could recognize me as someone that I would want to connect with. So that now we can have this experience that we had planned before we even got here.
Yes.
So yeah, yeah,
One teaching I
all
had
done
with
before.
Christ, I know it is. It's amazing when your mind starts expanding like that and you see how holographic we really are. And it's like now it makes sense. It makes total
Yeah,
sense. And especially if you're a
absolutely.
traveler, a conscious traveler in the higher frequencies, higher dimensions, then it's like, oh yeah, now I
Mm,
get it. Oh yeah, okay, we've been lied to for a long time, but we're not being lied,
yes.
but we know the truth now. We're waking up. Yeah. And I forgot what I was gonna say.
It'll
That's
come to
okay.
you.
Oh, I think this was one of the things that I wanted to say was I actually saw my future self. She came to me. Yes. hmm I drew her too. She came to me when I was waking up in the a couple of three times she has come to me when I was waking up in the in-between state, and that's my favorite state. That twilight hypnagogic hypnopompic state because I
Mhm, mhm,
everything's just so clear there. I am a traveler, a conscious traveler, and I hear my name, Sharon, female voice, and I see her standing. I mean, she's just well from the waist up and she's just as clear as day. I don't know that she's me though, but I'm like, oh, I'm like, you're gorgeous. Who are you? And she has, she has
You.
she looks like she's 35 or something like that, and she
Yeah.
has a bald head. she's bald.
Yeah.
But she's human and she has human eyes, light skin, and she's has this beautiful aura of mm, pastel translucent colors.
Yeah.
I could see her aura with these
Oh,
symbols
wow.
moving through her aura. I mean, she's just so gorgeous. And her energy, everything about her. And she's wearing like a high collared robe, one of those. Yeah, and it's
Yeah. Yeah.
gold.
Yeah.
It's yellowish with gold inlay. And she says she wants to show me something, and it has something to do with TV. Turn the TV. Not that I watched a lot of TV, but at the time I was watching like the Vikings and stuff like that because I remember being a
Okay.
Viking. So
Yeah.
that, and then another time, and I was drawing her, and I've seen her twice after that, but I was drawing her like I saw her that first time because
Yeah.
it lasted for quite a while. I'm going to say, 30, 40, 45 seconds, which is quite a while when you're
Wow.
in
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
space.
Sure.
And I was saying, I can't get your eyes right. How do I get your eyes? As I'm talking to her, she said, look in the mirror.
Wow.
Yeah. She said, well, I didn't say it, but I'm
Yeah.
you. I'm your future. I'm the future you. I'm a higher frequency you, which is the future us. The higher
Yeah.
frequency parts of us are our future us. That blew my mind.
Love that. Yeah. I have a family member who, as a child, she like she said she was on her bed, and another version of her was like standing there in front of her. And I thought that was incredible. That sounds very,
Yes.
very similar to that. I remember I used to say things like, there's a greater me out there, and I'm on my way to meet him. And I remember when I was very young, I used to hear other realities. In that in between space of wake and sleep, it wasn't directed at me, but I would hear like conversation, like I wasn't hearing voices. I was hearing like, I would still probably have my eyes closed. I'm awake, but I'm hearing conversations with people taking place. And I just imagine now that the veil was thin between this reality and whatever the other reality was. Um, and
Right.
I would have moments like that, definitely between that in between space, awake and sleep, where I'm either hearing or I'm seeing something play out in another reality that's also playing out in my reality. It's just different characters, different, but the same conversations at times, but different people having them. Yes, it was so fascinating to me. And at that time, I'm a Christian minister. So I'm not thinking anything of it. And like, I can't tell them. Matter of fact, this is probably the first time ever I've ever even mentioned it.
Oh,
But I was like, I can't tell nobody this. This is, I can't say
that's,
this to nobody. I don't even understand it myself, what's going on.
uh,
But it would just occur. Yeah.
I know
So,
when you're having these experiences, you don't understand them. You think you're going crazy. You really do. You don't
yeah.
understand. It's hard to understand because, but thank goodness nowadays people, the world is open to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Yeah.
another thing I just remember what I wanted to share when you were talking about, um, how in different frequencies, we were talking about different frequencies. We're moving up the spiraling light.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and in my book I write about this, but my bedroom was my classroom when I was going through my 40 days or whatever it was. My bedroom
Oof.
was
Yeah.
my classroom. And
Yeah.
yeah, I could see through the veil. And at one point he's like, okay, today our teachings are, and and that was the only thing that was real. This world out here when I
Yeah.
go to work and everything like that was the illusion. And I sat
Yeah.
with him, and it was the only thing that was real. When I'd come back, if I didn't get the lesson at that time, we'd pick up exactly where we left. There was no introduction, like, okay, now we're going to keep doing this. We went right back into it as
Right
if
back
there was
into it.
no interruption, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
this wasn't real. So
Yeah.
it was just sitting with him. And I heard a conversation between a male and a female. And at that time, I was going through a really rough relationship, and it
Mm.
was friendly. And then,
Mhm.
oh, he showed me a dial in front of me, in front of my face, a dial, a frequency dial kind of thing, or a dial, a knob with numbers on it.
Mhm.
And the conversation was friendly. I could just hear it. And he turns the dial down and they start getting angrier and meaner and meaner. And I realize it has to do with their frequency. And then he turns it up slowly and they get friendlier and friendlier. I can hear it in my mind, this
Yeah,
conversation, and
yeah.
friendlier, turns it up really high. And then they're just loving each other and being very sweet and peaceful and everything like that as he turns it up higher and higher. That he was teaching me about frequency.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. I mean, it makes sense. It makes all the sense in the world. You talk about frequency and vibration and all that stuff. But yeah, interesting.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I,
that's the importance of being in a good frequency, good vibration.
right. And he said, now
Yeah,
gauge your frequency. What frequency are you at? He'd ask me, he'd teach me how to gauge my frequency. What are on scale of 3, since we're in third dimension, up to
yeah,
5, if I ever made it
yeah,
there.
yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, he would ask me to gauge my frequency. That was
Interesting.
pretty cool.
Interesting. And based on, and that's, I'm, I'm assuming that's based on how am I feeling in this moment,
Yes.
or
How am I feeling in this
um,
moment?
when when you're talking, how would you gauge your frequency? Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha,
Yeah, with
gotcha,
my
gotcha.
thoughts. Okay, what
Yeah,
am
that
I
makes
thinking
sense.
about? How do I
Makes sense.
feel? Am I talking good to myself, or am I talking bad to myself? Because
Yeah.
he also taught me about my background tape that I was telling myself, that kind of thing, which wasn't good. So, things like that. And so, be aware, be aware of your thoughts, be aware of what you're putting out, that kind of thing, and your frequency.
Yeah, that's important. That's important. I spend a good deal of my day. Um, First of all, I'm at a place where this is like a blur. Like this reality is like it's no solidity to it anymore. It's just it's almost like a dream. I mean, because it is a dream, for lack of better words. But I'm in that space where none of this is. I might even walk around going, none of this is happening. None of this is real. And yeah, I literally had that conversation with myself as I'm
I
going
know
about my day.
it's not real anyway.
This is happening. I may say it like this. I dreamed that um, my character avatar had a conversation with Sharon today, or I look at it as my I amness or my eternal I. It's
Nice.
just imagining. I mean, and that's essentially what's going on. I'm just
It's
imagining all of this, and I try to keep my focus on the I amness that is my true self. Like any idle time or even while I may be doing something, I just revert my attention back to the truth of who I am, right? Like I'm watching James or the appearance of James doing this or having this conversation, talking to this person. And I got that from Sri Narsikadatta Maharaj. He wrote a book called I Am That. And he said his guru just told him just to focus on your I am. And I picked up on that and seen a couple of other people that mentioned that as well. And that's what I do. That's what I'm doing right now. Just focusing on my I am and just watching James having this conversation.
being an observer, the observer.
And that's it. That's
Yeah.
it. And that gets you out of that reactive. It doesn't come up for me. Definitely doesn't come up for me as much as it may have come up for me before. I still may find myself reacting. I still may find myself because again, you're navigating two dimensions,
Hmm.
the 3D and 5D. So you're navigating that. So I still find myself, experiencing what my human self would experience. But for the most part, I'm in that neutral place, right? Like I'm in that neutral place. Like I have an older daughter. She had surgery recently, and they know. Both my daughters know now. I'm not gonna worry, worry isn't healthy. It's that reacting space. It's kind of what I told you before. I already know you're fine. I already know you're, and that's just what it is. Matter of fact, my oldest daughter is actually someone who came to me with cancer. She's mine. Let me be clear about that. But she's not my biological daughter.
Mm-hmm.
She's someone that I saw her mother on social media stressing out about her daughter having cancer. And usually I do what Jesus do. I just ignore, I just keep strolling, but I kept coming back to her. And her mother was actually a client of mine. And so I reached out to her. I said, hey, I can show you how to heal your daughter, even without involving your daughter. And so I kind of gave her what my process was at the time. And she said, hey, do you mind speaking to her? And I said, sure. So we talked for about 3 sessions. I think her next doctor visit, cancer was gone, no more cancer. And they couldn't figure out what was going on or how to treat it before then. But I knew that what was showing up in her body was related to an experience that she had when she was younger. And so I said, hey, you can always just get some counseling around that or whatever. But something in me said, oh, and I got a great story behind it. Something in me said, James, you're supposed to be a father figure to her. Because usually when I work with someone, I may check in with them later, but there's not that level of attachment. But I told her mother, I said, I feel like I'm supposed to be a father figure to your daughter. And she said she would love that. And so I mentioned that to my daughter. And she, that's my daughter now. And what I didn't realize was that maybe 8 months prior, I had a dream. And in that dream, a mother I guess she's on a journey, she's walking somewhere, she turns toward me and hands me her daughter. I said, that's what that dream was. That's what that dream was. It was showing me what was, and I was just experiencing the unfolding of what already was. So yeah, I got a younger one and an older one. They both know I don't care whether you came for me or not. You are my daughter. There's no, well, this one, no. I have 2 daughters, oldest and youngest.
Beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, yeah,
That's beautiful.
yeah.
Thank you, James. Thank you. It's been amazing talking with you.
Yes, yes. I feel like we could probably have this forever.
I know. We're definitely gonna have to do some things together for sure. And yeah, I mean, you're an Ascension coach. My channel is called Ascension Gateway. So,
Yeah, it was already planned. We sat on a cloud and was like, okay, at this point in time, we're going to come together, then we're going to have conversations, then we're going to create. So we're already doing that, even as we're having this conversation. So.
Right. I like to think that we were sitting on a beach somewhere, with beautiful weather, drinking, really nice.
There you go. There you go. I like that too. I go with that. Absolutely.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really beautiful scenery.
I heard that when you said Ascension Gateway. I was like, oh, okay. Okay.
Right?
Because I don't think we had mentioned that in our conversation, but synchronicities, there you go.
Yeah. Portals everywhere, signs and portals everywhere. We just have to pay attention.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So what would you like to end this this conversation? We'll have many more, I'm sure. This conversation with sharing with the audience, with my audience.
I would just encourage them to make sure you are spending time connecting to your soul, connecting to the truth of who you are, whether that's just being quiet, maybe even putting your hand over your heart and just allowing your attention to go there. Because the heart is the gateway to the soul. But just get out of your mind as much as you can and get into your soul. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. And where can people reach you?
They can reach me right here on YouTube. If they're watching this on YouTube as you mentioned early, at the Ascension Coach _1111. I've been spending a lot of time there. Also spending a lot of time on TikTok at Ascension Coach _1111.
And thank you everyone for being here, and we'll see you again soon.
Take care, everybody.